As many of you probably know, Cobra Kai is a continuation of the original Karate Kid franchise. It was a series that originally aired on YouTube Red Original, but since then has been bought by Netflix, and Netflix recently released Cobra Kai's third season, which I've already done a review on, so check that out up in the corner if you're interested. Without further ado, this is my Cobra Kai ranking, so let's get into it. Coming in at third place and last place is Season 1. Now, just to make this clear, this is still a very good season, but something has to come in last, so unfortunately it's the first season. Looking back to this season compared to where we are now, heading into Season 4 next year, a lot has happened, so it's easy to say that this one doesn't contain as much excitement, tension as those other seasons. Once again, not to say that this is bad, because it set the foundations very well for all that stuff to happen in later seasons. It does something which I hadn't really experienced before, except for Terminator Dark Fate, where they brought back Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger. But here, we get all these characters come back, at least the ones we need, and it's such a joy to watch. From a movie over 30 years ago, bringing back characters from there to a TV show in the present is just so cool and very unique. Obviously, you can look back at this in a year or two and think it's normal because of the direction certain franchises are going, you know, Spider-Man 3 bringing in all these actors, Alfred Molina, Tobey Maguire, etc., you know, from their older movies, and then with the Flash movie bringing in Michael Keaton's Batman. So in the future you might take it for granted, but this is such a cool thing to happen. It allows us to understand the characters more. You know, Karate Kid movie was only like 2 hours, so we get some more development for these characters because a TV show has a much longer runtime, and especially since it's them when they're older, so all of that's just very interesting. The majority of the season focuses on Johnny Lawrence, the bully from the first Karate Kid movie. You know, in that one we just looked at him as the bully and then Daniel's opponent in the final, but here he becomes more than just a bully. He gets some growth. We get to see about his son, about his job, a bit about his background, but most importantly, how that defeat to Daniel has affected him even in his later years. In the original Karate Kid movie, of course, we all rooted for Daniel, but watching this, whenever it's in Johnny Lawrence's point of view, we want him to succeed against Daniel, but then when it's flipped over, because you understand his motives, what he's feeling, but when it's flipped over and you see it from Daniel's point of view, you can also feel the same for him because he sees all the bad things, he doesn't see what we see. A few things that bothered me though were pretty much how this is a modern day TV show of the Karate Kid movie. The fact that a lot of everything in that movie is recycled into this, and that makes it very predictable and therefore a bit frustrating that you kind of already know what's going to happen. It is understandable to play it safe to establish this first season to make sure it doesn't get cancelled, but it was a slight bother, but still a really great introduction to this show. Coming in at second place is Cobra Kai Season 3, the one which was released just a couple of days ago. This season picks up where Season 2 left off very, very well. It handles the aftermath of that Season 2 finale in such an interesting way, where it focused a lot on the characters individually, where we see what they're going through, whether that's struggling to come to terms with what happened to Miguel, personal trauma from that day, or just straight up wanting revenge for Miguel. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about, but it was just cool to see that this season was not ashamed of the original Karate Kid movies. You know, in most cases when there's some bad sequels and they bring back that franchise later on, they tend to acknowledge those bad sequels as little as possible, but here they straight up bring characters from that movie into this show about 30 years onwards. It was just really cool to see that they had a big part to play. It was really great to see these characters feel a bit more normal again, not be just straight up virtual killers from last season. They have more heart to them. I enjoyed seeing Miguel and Johnny reform that friendship and even expand it throughout this season as Johnny helps Miguel recover, and something else happens, you'll see. Giving John Kreese a bigger role really benefited both the character and the show, as it just showed how much more evil he is than we thought. Not only does he do these shocking things, but he also manipulates people in powerful places to make him seem like such a sweetheart. And just the way things close out this season with some big cliffhangers has me very intrigued for season 4. I was let down a little bit by the lack of Robbie in this season. He grew on me last season when he was one of the main characters, but understandably he didn't have too much screen time this season, so when they do what they try to do with him, it doesn't feel as impactful as maybe it could have. And connected to that, because all these characters are so separated, dealing with things by themselves, they seem a bit rusty when they all meet up again and connect. These weren't major things, they're just, you know, you have to look for some negative things in films, so that's what I came up with. Nonetheless, still, as if you see in my review and from what I said from season 1, this is still a really good season. So that means coming in at first place, I have Cobra Kai Season 2. All the tension from the first season is increased here. A genuine rivalry forms, and you get a better look into Robbie and Johnny's relationship in thorough detail. As well as that, we get the return of John Kreese, who made an appearance as the cliffhanger in season 1. We get to see him here. He establishes himself as a great character in this show, as we go on to see in season 3. But the characters' relationships were at an all-time high here. The chemistry was bouncing off everyone, whether that's actual rivalries, hatred between two people, or maybe a bit of romance. All that tied into the kids being better at karate. You can feel the tension as it builds up to this really great finale, which did not disappoint. I was actually kind of surprised at how brutal some things were and how the whole episode was literally just a whole big fight. Going back to Kreese, you get to see more about him, and behind the scenes you can kind of sense something's going on, which we inevitably find out, and left things in a good place for this season, the season which came out the other day. Just the straight up brutality of this season, the character relationships, which were by far the best thing for me. Genuine rivalry, and of course that big finale. This made for the best season of Cobra Kai thus far for me. But before I leave off, I just want to say just one negative thing I want to add was, although these characters were great, they all seemed too focused on karate itself, about each other, that they didn't feel as human. You know, normally there's a clear and obvious person you follow in a show or a movie that you want to succeed, but here I didn't actually have someone that I genuinely wanted to win out of the kids. So it was hard to root for someone, but it doesn't take anything away from a really good season. So there was my ranking of the 3 Cobra Kai seasons, which are all on Netflix now if you fancy checking them out. I'm going to leave my ranking up on screen now so you can get a better understanding of how much of a quality gap there is between each, as it has my ratings next to it. I started this show only having seen the original Karate Kid. As I watched more of it, I had also watched all the Karate Kid movies now, and I can say, as bad as some of them may get and as poor as the quality drops, seeing some of these characters return, and also another one hinted at for season 4, it makes watching those movies kind of pay off, even though it was hard to. So I'm grateful I have seen them, and I look forward to season 4. But anyways, let me know what you thought of season 3 of Cobra Kai and what your ranking would be. I hope to see you in my next video. Take care.